Great. All right. Why don't we just go ahead and kick it off? Good morning, Ines. Well, welcome everybody to our, I don't know how many of these virtual coffee with the mayors we've done so far, but they've been, I think, all excellent. And I look forward to another great session. My name is John McCormick. I'm president of the Lafayette Chamber this year and last year. And my wife and I own La Miranda Music, and really excited to have Mayor Susan Candell and Jay Lifson as our initial presenters. And so what we're going to be doing is have Susan give us a little update on what's been going on with the city, especially over the last 6-8 weeks or whatever it's been had our last coffee, so you guys can get a sense of things. Jay, our executive director of the chamber, has a few questions to kind of kick things off to Susan. And once that's done, we'll open up to any of you who want to ask the mayor a question. So you can either put them in the chat, or you can just raise your hand when the time comes, and we will go ahead and take them in the order people raise their hand. All right, so I think without further ado, Mayor Candell, you want to give us an update on what's going on?
Sure, thank you, everybody. Sorry, a little different background. I am in Lake Tahoe, and we drove up yesterday for a wedding in Reno last night because the mask requirement's a little bit different in Nevada than in California, and that's what this young couple chose to do. So we were in Reno last night for our wedding. Go COVID. Anyway, so I was hoping, honestly, that today I was going to be able to announce that the state of California has, lessened their mask requirement, or Cal OSHA took any steps yesterday, but neither one of those things happened. And I'm disappointed, I have to say. I think California is now an outlier in terms of being conservative on moving forward by the state. As soon as I found out yesterday morning that Santa Clara County is taking a little bit of a different tact. So Dr. Sarah Cody, which I do believe is our regional expert, health expert, she chose to take Santa Clara County and said, hey, all businesses and government entities have to ask every one of their employees whether they've been vaccinated or not. And those who have been vaccinated can take off their masks. And those who haven't, keep their masks on and get COVID testing. To me, that seems like a really reasonable, smart way to approach this as employers. And I say that only because, not because all the civil rights, obviously there's some, reasonable exceptions for medical and religious beliefs, absolutely. But I know I've seen a bunch of polls that say that among those people who are vaccine hesitant, if their employers required it, they would get it. And I think that's just, it's a tough topic. And those who are hesitant, we need to help them and encourage them to get vaccinated using whatever means necessary. And if it's your employer saying, you really ought to do this, and there's a bunch of them that said that they would do it if their employer said so, I don't think it's such a bad idea. So I emailed our supervisor, Candace Anderson, immediately yesterday morning saying, hey, Candace, I would support this if you want to do this. And so far they're thinking that they're going to go with the state level mandates. And I'm disappointed. I think that as business owners, all of you would be much happier if that was the case where we could do this. As a city, we can't. It's only our county that can make a rule like that.
And I have an update on that, Susan.
Candace, welcome, please. I know we were emailing yesterday.
No, and just because I don't mean to interrupt you at all, but we discussed it. Jay was at our ad hoc meeting yesterday, and we had this discussion of whether the Bay Area health officers were discussing what Santa Clara has done. And yes, they are. And so when I emailed you, I had been hearing from our health officer, everything's going to be identical to the state. We're not doing anything differently. But when I did ask our deputy, Tom Warren, about it yesterday, he said, we're looking at that. Is that going to be a model? Maybe that's what Cal OSHA will accept, but maybe they won't. But the Bay Area health officers are looking at it. So I will be quiet unless you ask me another question.
No, bless you. Thank you, Candace. I think that the Bay Area took that tact going into COVID, and we could be a leader coming out of COVID. And I thank you. I appreciate that effort. I'm glad you're here for the update. So I will move on with that, and we can, hopefully the Bay Area will be successful with that model. The next one, wildfire. So wildfire, we are this year facing another devastating year, record-breaking apparently from all indications so far. So we had a big meeting last week with Contra Costa Fire and our police chief and Lomrenda Cert, and it was excellent. What I do have to say, some of the the key takeaways I think from that meeting is in the last couple of years, I think Con Fire and Lomrenda Cert and Lafayette PD have been making some really, really great steps. I mean, notable, substantial steps in increasing our wildfire safety here in Lafayette, but as well as in our county. And a couple of key programs that actually started in Lafayette or Lomrenda are now rolling out into the county. It just means because we contract with Confire, the more we can get the whole county talking the same language and getting the same tech and coordinating evacuation routes and everything, the better off we're going to be. And the level of cooperation I felt at this meeting with Chief Burchard and Chief, coming from leadership, Chief Burchard down to McAllister and everybody else on the team, I feel like it's a closer communication and we're all working, better together to keep us safer here in Lomrenda and especially in Lafayette. The fire-wise, we do have a couple kicked off communities. Any of you guys, if please, we're kicking off in our neighborhood. And so if you have any questions at all, please reach out to me. I've been trained. We've got people in Spring Hill Valley who've been trained, people in Happy Valley Glen who've been trained. And we want to launch this out into as many neighbors as possible. It's never too late. That's the message here. It's not too late to start looking to do these things before this fire season. So please, and it's not that hard. It takes some effort. It's not that hard. And we as a city are going to try to lead by example. CAL FIRE has offered up one of their chippers. And so we're trying to get a program where we can borrow this chipper along with helpers from Confire with the city of Lafayette, getting the green bins to be able to chip into and remove the chips. We are going to be rolling this out very soon. So please watch out for that. Another thing, so the GPAC, actually I'll wait for that because Jay was going to ask me a question about the GPAC. So I will wait for his question on that. We did hire a consultant for our stimulus bill. We have not heard anything back. I'm going to preempt you on Jay. Unfortunately, we did hire them. We haven't had any motion on it. And I know it's not on the agenda for Monday. And so it'll probably be 2 more weeks before I find out how that is going to be rolling out. And hopefully it'll be something lovely. I think those were the big, the Trans-Circ had a meeting on Wednesday. And what's notable about that meeting is that there is a pilot program. One of the things that I was hoping to roll out this year. So one of them, the big thing was wildfire. Number 2 from our council was safety around our schools. There is a pilot program for bike and pedestrian safety around Burton Valley School. It's totally different. We're trying to go effective, but inexpensive. Let's say all of us know that putting in sidewalks through a community for an entire mile is way more expensive than our city can probably absorb at one time without a lot of help from outside. And that's hard to negotiate. So we've come up with these alternative solutions that are inexpensive enough, but will be just as effective. And it went through Trans-Circ, and the number of letters that we received from the community back in Burton Valley was really astounding in support of some possibly pretty major changes around the schools to get better. We would like to connect our trail, the Lafayette Trail, to Burton Valley. And if we can do that, we've connected a large swath of, kids, adults, everybody else, and provided a lot of safety back in Burton Valley around the school. And it's progressing. And I'm absolutely really excited about it, especially the community support about something that is pretty, some people don't like change too much, but a lot of support. And I'm really glad that's moving forward. And hopefully if you guys hear about it, please, weigh in whether you are, if you like it or not. I know Jay has another question about roundabouts, and so I'll wait about that as well. But I think that's about it for my update.
Great, thank you, Mayor Candell. Yes. And just I know a couple people have joined us a little bit later into the update. What we're going to do now is turn over to Jay Lipson, the Chamber's Executive Director, who's got a few kind of key questions for Mayor Candell just to kick things off. But then we want to open it up for anybody to ask a question. So you can just raise your hand virtually or real time, and we'll just take the questions as they come. But Jay, let me turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So Susan, I was just wondering if the city has received, some of the background on the third quarter sales tax, and maybe you can give us a snapshot of how the businesses are doing in town.
I have not seen it yet, and
Okay.
I apologize for that. I know we have a budget meeting coming up soon, but I haven't seen the agenda. Tracy called for one, so Teresa and I will be meeting with her soon, and so that should be coming out imminently.
Okay.
Sorry.
Because, yeah, from all signs in our downtown right now, it looks like it seems like we're really steamrolling along, and it really
feels like it. Yes.
It's really great to see, and I'm getting lots of great feedback from the businesses that things are much better than they were. So I'm looking forward to see how that's going to play out. Regarding the GPAC meeting, so there was a GPAC meeting last Tuesday night, just a couple days ago, and when you went round robin with all of the participants, you made a comment that the community workshops that had been held over the last 4 weeks failed to get the results that maybe we had hoped for. And as someone that participated, I found a couple of issues that I'd like to share. One was that when you logged in for this was a very sophisticated system that was being used to collect data and move everybody around and be able to put the map up there for everyone to basically decide where would housing go and so on. So it took like about 10, 15 minutes to answer all the questions and log on. And I missed the first part of the third meeting. And then the table that I wound up sitting at had really well-intentioned people with very little exposure to what the task was before them. And I think that led to all the housing being assigned to 2 places in town. So can you maybe speak to that and tell us sort of what the purpose was of those workshops and what did we learn?
Thank you. Yes, it was. So we had 4 workshops. I do want to say that not all of it was a problem. We got a lot of great information on these meetings. And I thank staff for working so hard and trying to create a platform where people could contribute. I do think that there were some pretty significant technical difficulties. That was one thing that is a little tough one. If you were tech savvy, it was easy, right? But if you were not as tech savvy, it wasn't as easy. And I had friends that literally couldn't get on at all and kept bumping off, and that was unfortunate. But okay, so in particular, that third meeting, I have an issue with the way that the information was presented and the way the maps were set out in the city. And like you said, it ended up getting to a result where it all did go dumping around in places that maybe people weren't intending to. And I know I've spoken to a couple of people about this. And if you looked at the way that the program was set up, a couple of the knobs, like if you tried to turn the knobs in the downtown, they didn't work the way you would have expected them. It didn't work the same way there as they did in the BART station, or they did in Deer Hill, or they did in De Silva. And that was kind of by design. And in the meeting, Stella Weatherspoon, who is brilliant, and she's on a Trans-Circ, she figured that out on herself. She goes, there's something in the denominator there that is altering the function of those knobs in our downtown. And she's absolutely right. And we addressed it at the prior meeting. And unfortunately, it wasn't changed for that meeting. And so if you had wanted to put more growth in the downtown versus BART or Deer Hill, you would have had to crank those knobs up to what they presented to council, which was 115 per acre, which is something the council does not want. And that was a unified no, oh my gosh, because that can be up to 172 per acre, which is like 12-story buildings in our downtown with the density bonus. But unfortunately, that was the way it was presented. And I know talking to some people afterwards, they're like, I wanted to put the growth downtown, which is with our downtown specific plan, which is the way we've been doing it forever, but I couldn't make it happen. And so I had to go to these other areas in order to get the numbers. And I have a problem with that. So I think it was the result of that exercise wasn't what I thought would be what we wanted. I mean, to me, the question we were asking, if you go step back, don't use the tool, step back, look at the big question is, where do we want the growth? If we have these 2,000 units plus a buffer, where do we want the vast majority of those to go? And I don't think that exercise teased out that question in a way that people answer clearly, like whether, and there's about 1 million different ways we can do it. And so maybe they'll be coming out with another way to present that question without relying on the tech and without relying, maybe it's just a survey. Maybe it's just a ranked choice. It's like, hey, where do I want it? Do I want it downtown? Do I want it on BART? Do I want, just prioritize it. And maybe that would be a better way to just capture where people want the density to be. And that was my issue with relying on the results of that session 3. I don't think they captured the essence of the question we were trying to answer in the way that we need to know right now.
It seemed to me that one thing that maybe we did learn through these exercises is that if you're starting with 35 units per acre and you bump it to 40 or 45, this actually may get us to the numbers that we need and without building 12-story buildings.
Absolutely. And it all depends on how many opportunity sites we find downtown. And I kind of look at the market forces on this one. So most of the building, we've been successfully building housing in our downtown and a lot of places, not even in our downtown, like the terraces, we've been with the proposal that was approved that are outside of our housing element, right? And so the developers come in and they look at places like, who would have thought the corporate terraces, 97% fully leased out office space would pencil out into a profitable housing project plus some retail. Who would have thought, right? And leased out apartment buildings, older apartment buildings also pencil out at 35 per acre, And so how many other places do we have like that in our city that developers are looking at that are underutilized, that could be also turned into housing? And we're doing a really good job at it right now. Actually, Lafayette, if you look at, we got graded, the Southern California News Group grades all the cities in the state. And they came up with, so Lafayette we're at a C+. And that doesn't include the 3 projects we just approved at the beginning of this year. And that is better than Orinda and Moraga, which we kind of would have expected because we haven't seen them have the kind of growth that we have. But we're also better than Walnut Creek, Pleasant Hill, and Concord. And so we're really doing a good job. And the developers are coming in and building housing in our town. And that's great. We want to continue that. And that's a 35 an acre, right? With the density bonus up to 52. And so I think we do have some wiggle room in there to examine our town and look at the more opportunity sites and really understand if we choose to go to a higher zoning, that's my goal. It's like, we can do it at 35 if we want, but we may choose to go higher, right? In certain areas because we want to go bigger. That's the position I would love to be in. That would give us control of where we want this to be. That's how I look at it.
All right. And one other question that was, we had an unfortunate accident that took a cyclist's life at the roundabout on Olympic and Pleasant Hill Road. And I've read some of the outcries from some of the people, and there were concerns when this was first installed and brought up. And I mean, it seems to me that it's pretty safe, but is the city looking at any other ways in which we can make that roundabout safer?
We had already a project on the list to install a flashing beacon at the corner of Olympic to go to Pleasant Hill Road North. And so that already is in the plan. It hasn't been installed yet. I don't know when that actually is going to go in. Yeah, there have been a lot of cries for us to look at it. And I imagine that will be something that we will. I do believe, personal experience, that the roundabout is safe. I think it's been an effective solution at that corner. Can we make any small improvements to make it better? There may be. And so I'm not, closed to that, but I do believe roundabouts are pretty safe. But if there are particular things that would help it be safer, sure, of course we'll look at it. And I'm very sad. It was very, very sad, tragic.
John, I think you had a question that got written in.
Yeah.
Regarding housing and the housing element.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and do the one question that came in from one of you prior to the coffee, and we'll talk to that, then we'll open up for questions. And the question was, I was encouraged that the council agreed to commit to local control for our town. And I'd like to know what steps we can take to achieve that goal. Can we hire a consultant to specifically push back on mandates from Sacramento?
Yeah, small little topic. So Cam Burks and I are on our legislative committee. We do have a meeting coming up because the bill deadline is just passed. And so now we know which bills are passing out from their house of origin into the other house. In particular, SB 9 and SB 10. So SB 9 is Senator the Pro Tem Atkins's basically eliminating single family zoning in all of California and allowing for the multi-split lot into many. And SB 10 was Scott Wiener's, which is a 10-unit apartment complex, pretty much anywhere in Lafayette, because we are a transit rich and a high resource opportunity place. And so both of those bills are of keen interest to our town. We have written letters in opposition. The League of Cities finally this year has weighed in against SB 9 as well. How we do have a lobbyist, and PCL, and he is helping us navigate through these. In particular, what the concept is right now, if you oppose those two bills, like our city of Lafayette has chosen to do, it's really hard to kill those bills in their house of origin. So Senator Pro Tem Atkins has very much control over the state Senate. And so Scott Wiener also has a lot of influence in the Senate. They do not carry that influence into the assembly. And so now that it is in the assembly, this is where, if we want to challenge it, this is where the fight will be. And so if we're going to fight SB 9 and SB 10, in the assembly is where the fight is. And with Rebecca Bauer-Kahan, who is our assemblywoman, absolutely reach out to her and tell her what you think. I'm sure our city will be also reaching out to her and include her. She's actually been included in the letters we've already sent. But forming coalitions among cities, we'll see if our mayor's conference will take it up. We sometimes do. It's rare. The Contra Costa mayors will take up a position, but it has happened. Maybe we will on this one. I try, and I've also brought it up with our La Marinda mayors, with Amy Worth and Mike McClure, and I got very little traction. So we'll see if I can get them to start talking legislation. I 100% believe that we local officials should be in charge of our land use and planning. It's in our state constitution. And because we know our cities best, we respond, we know if we want to upzone our neighborhoods or any area of town, we know best, right? We're listening to you. And the one size fits all coming down from Sacramento is a mistake. And to me, it actually is the way that the laws are written is it's so odd because they've taken all the local control off, which means the free market is planning our cities. The developers in the free market we have no ways to plan our cities anymore. And free market, yeah. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? It doesn't actually work in a lot of cases. And if we want to have control of our town, it's gone. And I have a real problem with that. And so Senator Glazer has, he put forth a bill that I know is dying and probably is dead. It's a constitutional amendment where if the legislature went along with it, they would put a motion on the ballot, an initiative on the ballot that we citizens of California could vote on and say, hey, we want land use and planning to be a municipal affair only. So return it back to what it was. It is probably the only way to make these types of bills and these things coming down from the state stop. So Senator Glazer, along with Almayor Tucci from Southern California, plus a couple others are going on. And to do that, it would mean that we wouldn't have to be signing petitions to get it on the ballot. And signing petitions to get something on the ballot of this size typically costs millions of dollars. And so if they won't do it, I don't think that this effort is going to stop. And I believe that there will be a state-wide effort to get it on a ballot. I don't know when it'll be coming around. I've been hearing mumbles from Southern California that they may be starting to do this. And so that would be the ultimate pushback. And I know Dan Horowitz brought that up at one of our prior chamber meetings. I'm just following up on that conversation, that is the way to make this stop and return to local control, where we do get to plan our city and create something wonderful here in Lafayette. So that's how you can help fight back.
Wow, actually something almost slightly hopeful, which is kind of nice to hear in this whole thing. So thank you very much. All right, excellent. Well, why don't we go ahead and open up? It's a great turnout this morning. Really appreciate everybody taking their time out of their morning to join in. But are there questions? Jay asked a few good ones, but there's a lot of other things that must be of concern to you. So who wants to break the ice and be the brave soul to ask the first question? No. Dennis Aragon, what question do you have?
Well, here's my question. Of all the various projects that you're working on right now, which one do you feel is working out the best, that you feel really good about?
What do you mean, like project?
Issues, et cetera, just whatever you're dealing with.
The two pieces that I think we're making some progress on is wildfire safety. I believe that we are honestly getting safer in Lafayette, and that is with the help of Confire and Lumber and Desert and all the programs they're rolling out, along with the best possible thing is all of our residents hardening their own homes. And so I think the combination of those things are making a big impact to the safety here in Lafayette. And the other is the safety around the schools. I know we're starting with the pilot around Burton, but we also have plans, and we're hopefully going to roll out changes around Spring Hill and Lafayette School and Happy Valley as well. So yeah, those are things that we are actually making progress on, I think.
Great, thank you. Yuki Fujimoto, you have a question?
Good morning. Thank you, Mary Candell, and thank you, Jay, for hosting this. I had a couple of things. One of them was I was really excited to see Mr. Matt Pease at the Moraga Mission Committee. They're rewriting their city mission, and so I'm excited to think that Lafayette is looking into this to create a more inclusive community. But the other side of this is that we had our Lafayette School District meeting through our DEI committee last night with our superintendent, Richard Whitmore. And we have our lovely Carol Singer, who's a community member as part of our committee. She's super busy, but she came last night to talk about the City Equity and Inclusion Committee that was formed a couple of months ago with Dr. McFadder Harris leading the discussion. And they had a really great sign up of like 15 community members. And their second meeting, unfortunately, kind of dwindled. And so I was hoping that maybe the city council members could kind of check in and see if we can continue this momentum. And I know that, a lot of them are busy parents who are spread thin. But as we open back up and school goes back, hopefully full-time in the fall, I am hoping that more community members will keep committed to
this. Me too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I did not realize that it had dwindled. Jennifer Wakeman is leading that effort and trying to push it forward. do you think there is time to regroup before the end of this school year? So sooner rather than later. I mean, I don't want to wait till the fall, but do you think that there would be a chance to get the group together before then? Yuki.
I mean, May is kind of a crazy, I mean, we've got, you know, baseball playoffs and it's a really great time. Yeah. And graduation is happening and all this stuff. So I know May is a crazy month. So maybe it was just a one-off, but I know that Miss Singer was a little alarmed and she's pretty committed to this and, you know, wants to see things through. So I just wanted to kind of put a little voice of support out there to see if the city can kind of push this along.
Will do.
John, maybe I can ask Yuki a question, and that was, are you talking about just the other night? Because I know that there was a meeting scheduled and I got like 5 notices that the meeting was on, but one of the notices said it was canceled. And I went online and I sat there for a few minutes and no one ever came live. Did I miss the meeting?
I wasn't there. I'm not part of the committee.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I see that there was a miscommunication.
Yeah.
And
I think that's what happened. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. Technology is a wonderful thing, but it can be dangerous as well. And Yuki, I do want to shout out to Matt Pease, who's on our chamber, which is doing a lot around DEI and really trying to push it forward. You know, kind of under the city and the school's umbrella, but the chamber is completely committed to this topic as well. Matt's doing an excellent job representing us on multiple fronts, GPAC as well as DEI. So we're very fortunate. We're all very fortunate to have Matt do that work. Cheryl McDonald, do you have a question? Or not?
Yeah, I do. I just had to find my unmute. So I had a question about the money that was coming in from the stimulus package. I know that there's a lot of talk about restaurants, but there's other businesses like auto repair that have had a huge slump because, you know, people aren't driving, therefore we haven't had car accidents, which is a good thing, but that means a lot less repairs that they get to do, and they're really suffering. And so, and not everyone is a chamber member. So between the mayor and the chamber, how are we going to get the word out about when the program is ready to be launched to all small businesses, whether they're chamber or not? Like, is there, between the council and the city staff, is there a plan, and chamber, is there a plan to communicate with non-chamber members? As the signboards were brilliant when it happened the first time, because whether you were a chamber member or not, or if you drove down the street to go somewhere to get gas or to get food, you saw the signs. But I'm just wondering what the plan is for that. And I wanted to echo Jay's comments about the meetings. I was one of the people who got bumped off a lot, and I'd come back in at different tables. So technology was, I understood it, but I was still having issues. And the number system, now that I understand, I listened to the GPAC meeting that happened, or sorry, yeah, the GPAC meeting. And it was hard to, I didn't attend, but those numbers that were elevated, now I understand what Stella was talking about, because we hit that too. And we were like, we can't get to our level because it only went up by 2% or something. And we did have to put housing. And so actually David Clark spoke, and he said something that was really interesting, which is what I thought. I thought it was just an exercise in a process so that we all understood how hard it was to figure this out. David Clark did a great job of explaining exactly what I thought too. So I didn't know that the city was taking this information and was going to take it as a fact. So I hope that they heard that the other night, that a lot of people just thought it was an exercise. And because it wasn't really set up right, we were frustrated too, but we did the process, and it was good. Anyways, back to the stimulus money. That was more important to me. Thank you.
Yes, no, thank you, Cheryl. David Clark's sentiment was definitely heard, I believe. And that was my sentiment as well, is like, we should not take the results out of especially session 3 as the actual direction for our city. Right. And I hopefully, I think that people understood that. And I'm sorry that you got kicked off so much. Sorry about that.
It just is.
Yeah. So the businesses, absolutely. There is no way that it's not the council's intention that this money will be spent just on, chamber members or not. We're definitely be taking a holistic approach at this money and spending it, the best possible way in our community. And you and me, I know you and me are one voice on signboards, especially when you're communicating with people on the street that don't, see the emails or, but if they're there and they're working there, they'll see a signboard. And so, yes, I 100% agree that we have to be very transparent and open and holistic on our approach to how to spend the stimulus money in our city.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like I was disking the chamber. The chamber does an amazing job. That wasn't a disc on it. It's just, there's a lot of people that don't hear about stuff from the chamber and the city, and it's a unifying process that'll get the word out to everybody. I wasn't trying to say anything bad about the chamber. The chamber does an amazing job.
We were not offended, Cheryl. Thank you. Don't worry. Totally understood the spirit in which you asked the question. I think that's important.
Thank you. Okay. Very good. I'm done. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Jenna, you are next.
Hi, I'm representing the Park Theater Trust Board. And I just wanted to draw your attention to the East Bay Times article that has this enormous picture of the Park Theater marquee, and it's beautiful. And they had an amazing shout out to Lafayette Community Foundation, which we are eternally grateful to for seed money for launching this effort. And I really just wanted to tell you, when we had a neon sign expert come and do an evaluation on the sign, and nobody even knew if the thing would light up at all. So he went inside and he flicked the switch, and it was like jaw dropping. It was so amazing. Now it's not all working. There's repairs that are going to have to happen, but all the red lit up, and it was just super thrilling and exciting. So we look forward. It was in the middle of the day, so it wasn't all that amazing, but just imagining how wonderful that's going to be when it lights up next fall. And we want to thank the city and the chamber, of course, for the enormous support that we're getting. And I'm sorry, this isn't a question, but it sort of answers Dennis's questions about city projects that are going great.
Good point. Yes. Oh my gosh. It's not a city project. We're helping you guys, enable you launch this most amazing thing. And I know our council is united in our excitement to open up this venue and make, this part of Lafayette be something really wonderful. And that's the good part about trying to have, Lafayette plan our own city, is when you get projects like this and we can help, and we're helping with the parking, and we transfer density bonuses, and we're working, spinning the circles on both sides, trying to help create this project. It should be something delightful, and I'm so thankful to everybody who's working on this project so diligently, and through COVID, and producing this wonderful result for us. So thank you, and then come back to us anytime.
One quick shout out, please take a look at parktheatertrust.org. You will be mind blown about the beauty of the ideas and what we're planning. So thank you, Susan.
Will do.
Absolutely. Terrific. Let me go. Graham, you are next. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, John. Good to see you again, Susan.
Hi, Graham.
I just, and we're talking about good things going on. We've had some not so good things going on in the Acalanes district. We've lost 3 kids we lost 3 kids, 2 of them to suicide. And what we're looking at is a major mental health crisis for the kids. And we're starting to see this show up statewide. Canada yesterday announced a Code Pink program because they have described this as a pediatric emergency, the number of kids. So the admissions to county hospitals for suicide attempts is up over 200%. So we really have something kind of scary coming down the pike. I did want to just kind of alert people that, but there are good things happening too. As many of you may know, we had worked, just a small group of us here in Lafayette, to get wellness centers on our school campuses. So we put all 4 school comprehensive high schools have these wellness centers. So we're doing good stuff in the community. Also in the community, if you start looking in store windows for these signs, we are working on taking what we have used as a success here in Lafayette statewide to try and help students with mental health issues. But here's the good thing. So I was walking through, talking to small businesses here in town, and I stopped in one of them, a stationery store, and shared, you know, the wellness center story. And this girl teared up and said, "It saved my life. I'm a Miramani student, and that saved my life. I was at that place where I was going to let go." And I thought, that's absolutely wonderful news. That is a small group of people here in there's just 3 of us advocating fiercely for something we believed in and had great success. So I just wanted to share that success and these little stories. So look for these in the windows. I'm just walking all through town, talking to everybody. Let me get out of the way there.
Be well.
Yeah, that's Senate Bill 21 that you and I talked about a little bit before. Thank you.
Oh, Graham, thank you. I had heard about it, but the numbers you just gave us are far worse than I had thought. I know mental health for our kids right now through this crisis has been just such a struggle. And I think I was involved with the Wellness Center at Acalanes when I was there, and it is a terrific program. And anything you can think of, you know, if there's a role that the city can play, please let us know in advocacy or anything. And I thank you for your efforts. And even if that one girl's story from Miramani, that is fantastic. So thank you, Graham, for all your continued work. I know it's a passion of yours. So thank you very much. And whatever we can do as a city, let me know.
Yeah, it's awareness. It's bringing this conversation into the light. And I'm a member of the Lafayette Chamber, a new member. And so I'll be working with them for getting this out to other businesses. And I don't know if you guys know Ed Anderson down at Big O Tires, but he lost his son, same way I lost mine. And he's like, you know what, Graham, we got to make a change. We got to talk about this so that people know it's a serious thing. And the scary number is 20% of our kids think about taking their life every year. So if you see a basketball team standing there on the court, one of those kids has thought about taking his life. It's really scary stuff. I don't want to bring people down. There is good stuff out there, but thank you, Susan.
Absolutely. And let's be in contact and see if, let's circle back on this one, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a great point. That's tremendous. Kathy Marshall, you have a question.
Good morning. I just wanted to go back to the meeting where everybody came together about fire safety. And the fire chief said that there was the possibility of cleaning up lots that are alongside our evacuation routes is out there, but we need to start a plan now to get the permissions and the plan laid out, permissions from the people who own the lots along those evacuation routes. And is there a volunteer group getting together to start to collect that information and lay out the plan? Because all this firewise stuff is great, but if you do have to go, it'd be really nice to have those evacuation routes cleared.
Right. So Candace, I'm sure you might have something to say about this too. So Confire does have weed abatement rules, and so they will go around our town, and the inspections are going to start May 26th, I believe. And if you have not cleared your property of your dry grasses, they will tell you, and eventually they will enforce and even clear your land for you and charge you by putting a lien on your property through your property taxes through the county. And so they're serious. There's some teeth in there. And I know I live in an area where it's a big deal, and we're all out there on our heels trying to clear them off as fast as we can before May 26th. But that next step, I know Taylor King, who's the new Firewise, he's the one, the fire marshal that's coming around and helping teach us. He says the arborist and the tree guy through Confire, they're working on that to help identify the trees, not just the weed abatement, but the next level, the bushes and the trees. And they don't have as much teeth into that part of their program yet. But we as a city, we definitely should. And that was one of the takeaways we took from that meeting, is that we should focus. And so Nurip and I we said we should focus on the very high fire hazard severity zones, and especially the evacuation routes within those zones, and kind of take an assessment of what's going on in there. We likely will roll this out into our emergency preparedness commission, which is helped by La Miranda Cert and Dennis Rain, and have them maybe go out and look at those and see, you know, attack those first. And it is the property owners, whoever that may be, if it's private property, city property, or county property, as we learned on some of the other areas, we need to find out who is responsible and make those assessments and encourage them to clean up their properties. And I hope that our city can, and our counties can lead by example on this one and do the right things first, and then encourage all of our residents to also take the lead on this. I know in Orinda and Moraga, they do have these community groups. They call it what they're ambassadors, and they go out and they're helping teach the residents about all these policies and how they need to take care of their own property and their trees and how to do it right. So whether we get that rolled out this year, I don't know, but I know as a city, we're going to definitely take a look at it, and it'll probably through our emergency preparedness commission. So thank you. That is a definite takeaway.
Great. Thank you. There was a question that came in on the chat just asking about the—
Matt Pease has been asking too.
Yes. About the legislative, the city, the legislative committee meetings, when those are.
It's coming up soon. It might be next week. So May 27th at 6 o'clock.
Very good. I'm assuming on lovelafayette.org, it's probably the details are there with the dial-in.
Correct.
Great.
Correct.
All right. Matt Pease, you have a question.
A quick question, Mayor Candell. Have you gotten any updates from PG&E on their efforts to harden the power distribution in the area to reduce power outages and potentially also fire hazards in Lafayette?
Yes, so they were at that meeting too. Sorry, I forgot to mention them. They and EBMUD and East Bay Regional Parks did not show up, but we'll get them in at another session too, because they have lands that are adjacent to Lafayette. So PG&E, yes, they have. And they have actually they believe that they have done a lot of the hardening and the weed and tree assessments around Lafayette so far. That's around their electrical lines. So we know that they've been doing a lot of work, tree work, and they do believe that they're almost done in Lafayette. We would like them to also include their gas lines. We know we have some exposed gas lines in our town, and they do tree work around those gas lines, but they do not do weed abatement. And they are, they're definitely part of a fire hazard as well. So unless we get them to reassess their high concern areas, including exposed pipelines in very high fire hazard severity zones, that may be a bigger lift than they're willing to do right now. Our exposed pipelines, say in Briones, are not part of their plan in terms of weed abatement. And I think that's, we maybe need to reassess that on a level, but they are doing it. They've been all over my neighborhood. But if you think that you have an issue around any trees or even weeds around the electrical lines in your neighborhoods, there is a link, and we're going to try to put these together on the PG&E website for vegetation management. And you can report, another person in Burton Valley noted some of the red pine trees, and a red pine is a dead pine, underneath some of their power lines up deep into Burton, and went to their PG&E website under the vegetation management and was able to report it. And hopefully they will take care of those. But that is a resource that we have with them to report with them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you very much. Well, we are wrapping up. Are there any other questions that we have for the mayor before we conclude? And then I think before we end, we'll have Holly give us a little update on what's going on, some updating upcoming events with the chamber, because we actually are back to doing events, or at least thinking about, which is very exciting. They might be a little changed, but they're still around. So if I don't see anything else, Holly,
I do have one quick statement right at the end, absolutely, but I can do it after Jay or before Jay.
Why don't we go ahead and have Holly do her thing? We'll end with.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Holly Sunny. I'm the Communications Director at the Lafayette Chamber, and I'm very excited to announce that we have a lot of great events coming up. A lot of business resources via webinar and online, as well as some in-person events. So our next in-person event, we actually had a very successful and exciting ribbon cutting at Diablo Auto Works a few weeks ago. It was in person. Thank you, Mayor Candell, for joining us there. We are going to be having a mixer on June 16th, on Wednesday, June 16th at Pillar Co-work. This is a co-working space, beautiful space across Mount Diablo from Whole Foods, if you're not aware of it. Registration is required, but you're able to register on our website, and anyone is welcome to join us. The very next day, we're going to be welcoming two new members, two new businesses to Lafayette, Headlands Brewing Company and Fringe and Fern Collective. They're both in the Forge. So we'll be having a ribbon cutting Thursday, June 17th. And on June 22nd, Tuesday, June 22nd, we'll be hosting our Taste of Lafayette, our restaurant stroll. So yes, cheer on. We currently have 28 restaurants signed up, and we may be adding some more because we actually have some new restaurants in Lafayette as well. So please join us. Early bird tickets are $50 and only through the end of May. And then there'll be $55 until we're sold out. And we've actually sold over half of our tickets. So spread the word, sign up, and we look forward to seeing you downtown for a Taste of Lafayette. Back to you.
Well, thanks. And Jay, I think you had a point you want to make before.
I just wanted to thank Candace and Lori for being on the call today. And I'm afraid that I've been the biggest thorn in their sides for the last year with all this COVID stuff. But the supervisors did have their COVID-19 ad hoc meeting yesterday. And we spent a fair amount of time talking about all the confusion that came about last week when the CDC, said you can take your masks off now. And it really made it very difficult for the business owners to sort of understand. Not everyone knows the difference between what the CDC says and what the state and county regulations and guidelines are. And it really made for some very awkward conversations this last week with our business owners. And I'd even mentioned at the meeting yesterday that one of our businesses was visited by the health department, and there was someone waiting for a table at their restaurant, and the restaurateur was cited because the father and two sons were not wearing their masks, and they thought for sure they were allowed to take them off. And it's been very confusing, but I want to thank Candace and her office for always trying to find the answers to the stuff. We're a long way from knowing what the future holds. We don't have we have very, very few cues or clues on what to expect after June 15th when it comes to holding events, gatherings, that kind of stuff. But as soon as we find out, we'll let you know. Thanks.
Excellent. Yeah, I'd like to do another shout out for, if you haven't subscribed to Candace's weekly email blast, I would suggest doing that thing. It's just like amazing. You're in the know. It's tremendously informative, and it was great stuff. So
and thank Lori, who helps put it together and helps me get it out each week.
Lori, you do great work. So Susan, I think we're gonna give you the last word.
I do. Okay, so my mother-in-law earlier this week passed me an email from Father John Casper from St. Perpetua's, and it was just kind of relevant to some of the things we spoke about today. And he quoted, it was last month, Hans Küng, one of the most influential Catholic theologians of the second half of the 20th century. He died at the age of 93. He was very much a person that wrote some really great works. And Father John quoted one of his works, which was the Declaration Towards a Global Ethic. And here it is. It's fantastic. We must strive for a just social and economic order in which everyone has an equal chance to reach full potential as a human being. We must speak and act truthfully and with compassion, dealing fairly with all, and avoiding prejudice and hatred. We must not steal. We must move beyond the dominance of greed for power, prestige, money, and consumption to make a just and peaceful world. I thought that was amazing. It just was a very thoughtful quote, and hope, you know, everybody can take that with peace and peace on earth moving forward. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you very much, everybody. And we will see you at our next mixer. Look out for the chamber and Holly's email blasts about what's coming up next. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good day.
Yeah.